Throughout the majority of 50 Shades Darker, I stared at the movie screen like William Shatner in his episode of The Twilight Zone. Just constant utter shock and awe. So let's start talking about this film that's being released in theaters this weekend. The first 50 Shades of Grey was one of the worst movies I had ever seen in my entire life, and it just so happened to be my least favorite movie of that year. This film continues the tradition by having Anastasia Steele, played by Dakota Johnson, a perfectly fine actress, and Christian Grey, played by Jamie Dornan, a man who's shown himself to be an exceptional actor in other things like the TV show The Fall. These are both very talented people, and here we have a director that is also extremely talented. James Foley made this film. This is the guy who directed the excellent Glengarry Glen Ross. So I actually went into this movie with the slightest ounce of hope, and I left pretty disappointed because it's the exact same as the first. It's another big shitty fucking piece of shit. The plot of 50 Shades Darker is essentially that Anastasia Steele decides, hey, I'll take back Christian Grey. Despite the fact that he spanked me real hard last time, I think I'm going to take him back. Because I just can't get enough of that Christian Grey. Man, do I want his body. But don't spank me again, that was bad. You really, really went overboard with those 5 slaps last time. I gotta say, I don't want any more of that. That's too much for me. And this time around, she's like, hey, I really like having sex with you. Let's have sex a lot. And preferably, Mr. Director, could you please film it and make it like an entry-level softcore porn for girls? That would be the best way to approach this. And please, music editor, include some current pop song while they're having sex, because if it's silent, it'll be too sexual and we'll get an NC-17. That's how these films are made. Oh, did I mention the author who wrote the books? Wrote a Twilight fanfiction and adapted it into her own story, and they're extremely successful. There's really no movie here. It's just more of them looking at each other from across a room, and they give each other the I want to fuck you eyes, and then they go have sex. There's nothing else. There's a small subplot involving one of his former submissives who shows up every once in a while looking really ragged, and I mean, he doesn't like being touched on the nipples. There's actually a scene where he takes lipstick and he goes, these are my boundaries. And he's like, you can't touch me here. This rectangle. You can't touch me there. Everywhere else is fine. Here's how I view this movie. It's hard to go into this film and expect anything else than a softcore porn for women. If I go into it and expect something Oscar-worthy or amazing, that would be really stupid of me. So I can't really tell you that I'm surprised by the fact that I thought this movie was awful. And you could use that as a defense for the movie and say, well, it has its place. It's a guilty pleasure. People can enjoy it. And you could defend the movie in that way. But this is the way I view it. It's the same way I view a kid's movie. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's a kid's movie. It's okay to be dumb. It's okay to have a lot of poop jokes. It's okay to not try as hard because it's just for 5-year-olds. That's bullshit. I think children's films should try just as hard as adult films. And I think that 50 Shades of Grey, or 50 Shades Darker in this case, should actually at least try to make the film even remotely romantic. Or you know what? At best, even remotely sexy. Because that's one of the things I hate about both of these movies. I sat through this movie not even remotely excited that I was watching 2 very attractive people having sex, because the sex scenes are incredibly boring. They're like softcore porn music videos, like something you'd find on the Oxygen channel at 2 a.m. It's like that. It's just like a bunch of like really slow music and slow motion. All that being said, the characters in this movie are fucking atrocious. All the men in the movie are just fawning after Anastasia Steele, and she, of course, just wants Christian, but she wants to be ordered around all the time. She lets him just push her around into every fucking situation. She's like, hey, I'm going to New York. It's a work trip. And he just goes, absolutely not. The answer's no. And she's like, we'll talk about it later. I'm like, what is he, your father? Like, I get that that's like how he gets off, but it's so fucking annoying. It's such a horrible, damaging, terrible relationship, and I can't stand that people like watching these. I mean, in regards to how controlling he is, there's a scene where he tells her to do something, and she's like, no, I'm not doing it. And he just looks at her and goes, for once, can you just do what you're told? And then she just does it instantly. And I'm like, first off, that was a little much. You're kind of a dick. Second, she does do what he says in every scene of this movie. Every single thing he asks her to do, she does it without fail. Where'd that line even come from? My God, I hate these characters! Even the attempts at making the film sexy fail because they don't make sense in regards to the film. Like, for instance, there's a sequence where he takes these 2 silver balls and puts them inside Anastasia. You know, great, that's wonderful. And she has to wear them all night at this party. And she's like, what do they do? And he's like, you'll see. And she's like, oh, okay. So they go to a party, and keep in mind, they have to drive to this party. She's sitting down in a car. Then they go to the party, and as soon as she sits down on a chair, she's like, and he just goes, now you know what they do. And she's like, oh, I know what they do now. When you sit down, oh, it feels good. She was just sitting down in a car for like 20 minutes. So what, they just didn't work then? The movie even has a hilarious excuse for heightening the tension towards the end involving this helicopter sequence that came out of nowhere. It was so funny. I was like, what? It's another softcore porn movie that's an excuse for a bunch of girls to get together and go, he has muscles and they had sex and he kind of likes to be dominant. Oh my God. Honestly, the thing I hate the most about these movies, I think I figured it out. It's that they sell themselves as these hardcore, like 18 plus, super dirty movies that are like really, really graphic. But they're not really. I mean, there's no graphicness. I mean, if they were NC-17, I might at least be like, okay, you went for it. But no, they really want to make money, so they're never going to go for it, really. And the films themselves just really aren't that sexy either. Even though we have 2 really attractive people, the stuff that they do is just bland and boring, and the way they're shot and the music and everything, it sucks. Okay, it's another terrible film. It's exactly like the first one in almost every fucking way. Look, if you like these books and you like the first movie, just go see it. You're gonna like it. You don't care what critics say. Just go watch it. You'll like it. Just go see it. For everyone else, I'm gonna give 50 Shades Darker a big fat fucking F. Oh my God, I sat through another one. I did it. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.